Myles Garrett is now on the Rams. That's good news. Who is stopping the Rams?
KW
Sorry. You know what? I took a day off.
This is a Ron Burgundy moment. Y'all think KW's so sharp and
I know
quick.
its biggest
He
threat.
all of a sudden doesn't have something
Don't get into my ear.
Here's the other teams, KW.
Here's some other great teams in the NFC, okay? But the Rams are the best. They were the best before Myles Garrett. Now they got Myles Garrett.
Well, the Seahawks are the best, right?
No, well, don't ask me. But if you win the Super Bowl, seems like you should be favored. And if you're in second place, feels like you shouldn't be in fourth place, for God's sakes. But that's Vegas. Who's the Rams' biggest threat?
Look, I think the division, first of all, is going to be tough.
Darn it.
I mean, Seattle has lost some guys, but they're still going to be good.
True.
But San Francisco, I think people might be sleeping on them, just because.
I'm one of those people.
Yeah, look, when they're healthy, historically under Kyle Shanahan, when they're healthy, they're good.
Yep.
They're a contender. And
they're rarely healthy.
Let's see it right. That's the problem. But if Bosa, Fred Warner, Trent Williams, it's like they're going for it now. I mean, they went out and got your boy Mike Evans.
Great
all right?
pickup.
Christian Kirk, I think, is a good third receiver, assuming Pearsall can stay healthy and be number 2. So I think they'll be tough. I'll go with the one team I'm going to go with, though, is Green Bay.
Oh, again,
Micah might be,
I think he's going to miss the first quarter of the year, maybe more. Yeah.
They were 9-3-1 with him, then didn't win without him, once he got hurt. But if they can hold water between those, in those first 4 games, and I think they can. Their schedule's Minnesota, which could be tough, but then you got the Jets, Atlanta, and Tampa Bay. So if they can be like 3-1 and he can come back and kind of get going right away, I think they could be the biggest threat.
Yeah, so it's going to be the Seattle Seahawks. Like, when you look at their division, obviously, anytime you're in a really good division, and we know the NFC North, really good division, they beat up on each other last season. That'll probably, again, be the case this year. The same can be said in that NFC West. Right. When you talk about those 3 teams at the top, 49ers being one of those teams, obviously the Rams and the Seahawks. But a team that can pressure you up front without having to bring extra men, meaning a blitz, that is the team that can give you the biggest issues, and that has been the Seattle Seahawks. When you talk about their head coach being a defensive mind, he counters whatever you do if you're Sean McVay very well. We saw that last year. If they get the same type of play and or better out of Sam Darnold offensively, and they can have the offensive player of the year and a receiver that JSN in terms of what he was able to do, a full year of the second guy, I'm drawing a blank on Rashid Shaheed, like in that offense. I know offensive coordinator change, that's going to, we'll see what that looks like. I don't expect them to take a step back, a huge step back if they do, but this team is still ready to be the favorites in the NFC. I don't think they are the favorites because of all the names, obviously, but they're going to be a team that's going to challenge them every time that they strap up the uniform.
So this is, I said this yesterday, and I don't know if I explained my rationale well, so I'm going to take another run at it. Because when Bruce said the NFC West as a whole, I sighed because I was going to say something similar, but only in this regard. I do think that I do not think the Rams will lose a playoff game that is played in a dome or at SoFi. I think that if again, barring the injuries derailing the season, I do think their build has been super smart. That last year, their one weakness was pass defense. Trent McDuffie, in my opinion, I know they said they're going to play him on the outside. Rams, don't do that. He's the best slot corner in the league. That is a premium position, but they paid him like he's going to play on the outside, so we'll see. Julian Watson can play on the outside, and Garrett can make it so they don't have to cover for all that long. So I think that plus Stafford, who just won MVP, all the weapons they have, that if the game is played on the terms McVay wants to play it, they're just going to have a skill edge considerably. The reason I was saying the NFC West is if the division can beat them up enough to where they have to go on the road in the playoffs, McVay's teams on the road in the playoffs, they have a good record. They have a lot of wins. But the win in New Orleans, that's a dome game. Win in Carolina, that was warm weather this year. Barely. Yeah. Right. Win in Tampa, again, that was the game against Brady where they had the huge lead. Brady came back, but it wasn't enough. Their losses at Green Bay, at Detroit, that's a dome fine. At Philly in the Saquon game where, again, they had a chance late, but their offense did nothing for the first 3 quarters, then they came.
Too cold.
And the Chicago game, people were like, oh, it's the coldest game ever. Yes, and that game was 17-17 going into overtime. Right. And then they obviously scored a bunch of points, lost in Seattle. The weather was fine. I just think they have built this team. It does remind me of the Polian Colts, which was, we got this great quarterback, great passing attack. We're going to unleash our pass rushers and pass defense. Okay, if you don't have the lead, or if a team can run the ball, or if the weather makes it to where it's more of a ground and pound game, I think their running game is fine. I think their run defense is fine. I think everything involving passing they're going to be elite at. So I think in a weird way, their regular season is, even for an SBOB team, more important than most of the other contenders.
A.J. Brown on the field already in New England. He talked about his new quarterback, Drake Maye. He was thrilled. Take a listen.
I was watching him today. Obviously, I'm learning the plays and, out there with him. He can make any throw. He's very poised. Like today in the meeting, I would say he kind of took over the meeting. Josh was speaking, and he, kind of cut Josh off, not in a rude way, but, he just kind of took over, and it says so much from a young guy, to know what he's talking about, number one, and to lead, and to be the voice of this team. So when I heard that, I was like, wow, that was impressive.
I mean, I don't even know what to say anymore. Here's Drake Maye last year. It's your computer screen or your phone or your TV is not broken. Yes, he was first in all these things. Best record, best completion percentage, most total yards, yards per pass, passer rating first, touchdown interceptions 31-8, actually fourth. Greg, we'll start with you. What are the chances that Drake Maye is actually better this year than he was last year?
Well, they're really good. I don't know if he'll be first in all those categories, but Wildes, I'm riding this wave with you.
Holy cow.
I believe in Drake Maye. Like, I will speak to this really quick. Like, anytime you get to a new team, new organization, like, you naturally are looking for everything that's exciting. So everything that A.J. Brown's saying, not that it's false, I'm sure it's true, but you see all the good stuff. There's nothing negative about New England right now that's going to come out of A.J. Brown's mouth. One of the main reasons why is because he has a quarterback that he believes, to his point when he said he can make every throw. Not that Jalen couldn't. Sometimes I don't think Jalen was willing to make every throw. You have an offensive mind that has proven he can be special when he has a special number one type of a guy at receiver in Josh McDaniels. With all these additions that they made on the offensive side at receiver up front to protect Drake Maye, you got to believe he's going to take a step forward in terms of getting the ball out of his hands, not holding on to it as long. Completion percentage, he's extremely accurate. If he meets that, great. If he drops just slightly, he's still going to be really good. But this team is going to be a problem. And one of the reasons why is because you get a guy who can just beat man-to-man coverage consistently.
Which they had a problem with last year.
He can absolutely make contested catches, so you don't have to have a guy that's creating a tremendous amount of separation.
Love it.
Just put the ball in the air and give him a chance. There's not a lot of receivers in this game that you can just say, hey, if you roll them out there, separation or not, still throw the ball. A.J. Brown is one of those guys.
So I agree with a lot of how A.J. Brown helps. Here is the problem, my problem with answering this question.
Okay.
Because I feel like if I asked Kevin Wildes, do you expect their record to be better? You're like, well, no, 14 wins. We just talked about how hard that's going to be. Do you expect them to go further as a team than they did last year? Well, that'd be win the Super Bowl. That's hard to do, so probably not.
Expect.
Do you
is
expect him to do better statistically? Well, he'd have to stay first in everything. Yeah. Do we expect him to do better in the awards? Well, he came in second in the
by
MVP,
a vote
in the MVP balloting, so he'd have to win it. So I think what I'm going to hear is the team will be worse, the record will be worse, his numbers will be worse, but I just know in my soul he'll be better.
Yes.
Okay, so I do agree.
Right.
I think young players get better as their career goes on. But I do not think he will play better. So will he be better from understanding the game and all those things that are sure? But will he play better than he played last year? No, I don't think he will.
You don't think he could play? Because this is the argument I use with Purdy.
I know.
And it's the truth. It's the truism.
Thank you.
Right?
That's exactly right. It's just the truth.
But you don't think he could play better and have lesser stats?
I think it is going to be hard.
Because it's going to be a tougher
convince
competition.
Me. If all of his numbers go down and the team goes from 14 wins to 10 or 11, and they go from in the Super Bowl to losing, early in the playoffs, and he goes from second in MVP voting to 7th, that he was better this year.
So I don't think his numbers are going to go down like that.
Can you put his numbers back up?
4,300 plus
they were first in everything.
Throw for more yards. But his rankings probably won't be first in everything. But
that's what
I
I'm
agree
saying.
with Greg. Like some of his, he could throw. Well, the yards is
total. So that's with rushing.
Oh, okay. So he could throw for more yards.
He's not going to do better than 72% completion.
No, that'll probably come down a little bit.
And a near record passer rating.
Was Patrick Mahomes a better quarterback in year 3 or year 2?
I don't know. Year 2,
really?
Year 1. Wait,
that's
which year
when
are
he
we
threw
saying?
for 50 touchdowns.
Yeah,
as a starter.
But remember, when they threw up the cover 2 on him, that gave him problems early in the
I am not going to argue that Mahomes. This is what I'm saying. You can say every player in the league until their body starts breaking down gets better every year. They get more experience. But then that's not the question we're asking. If we're just saying
chances he's
no,
even better.
But what
I'm saying is statistically the counting stats.
Then I guess my question then would be, how could the answer for any player in the league that's going into year 3, the answer be no? If
their numbers sink significantly. If Caleb Williams goes from completing 58% of his passes to 54, I don't think you can point at Caleb Williams and say, actually, he's better now. I think he's in a unique spot, the fact that he's number 1 in all of these.
His numbers have to almost drop.
So going from 70 to, even if he drops to 69% completion percentage, I'm not saying he didn't have a better year. I need to see how many actual throws did he make this year, this upcoming year versus completions. All those things matter. The type of throws that he's trying to make now, what he's being asked to do versus last year, it all plays a part. And so when you add a guy like A.J. Brown, you now tell your quarterback, look, we got you a bona fide number 1, Romeo Dobbs, kind of like a 1A, 1B, however you want to view it, and then we'll see what everybody else, how they fill in. But they run the ball well. Mm-hmm. They've tried their best to ensure what they have up front holds up. Do you think Drake Maye is just going to fall off?
No, what I'm saying is, I think this is.
Even with the competition being stiffer. I just think he's going to be better. He's going to understand what
I'm saying is, if we are if the conversation is young players naturally with experience get better, I totally agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. But if that's the case, then that is across the board.
But I don't think anybody's saying. I'm not saying every young player is going to get better. I'm saying at quarterback, when you've been to a Super Bowl, when they improved the offensive line, your second year with the offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels, like you got a better receiver. Like I'm talking about him specifically. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying every quarterback. I'm not saying Sam Darnold's going to be better this year than he was last year. I know he's a veteran, but I think in
CJ
this
Stroud
case,
got worse, right?
Yeah, CJ Stroud is worse.
Clearly got
Yes.
worse. His numbers sank, but just like what we were watching got worse.
Right.
He's in a tricky spot passer rating wise, right? So his passer rating, he was the best, 113.
Yeah.
He's almost being penalized because I think these guys all got better. Patrick Mahomes passer rating from year 3 to year 2 as a start, 2 years a starter, third year a starter, went down 6 points. Lamar went down 5 points. Justin Herbert went down 5 points. So I think just like a little bit of a drop, but doing more and winning games against better competition and showing up in the playoffs and being able to carry the team, I think will be better. To the A.J. Brown point, what I'm interested in, Greg, look at the Texans game, because the Texans were the best defense in the world before he threw 3 touchdowns on them. 2 of Drake Maye's touchdowns, the one to Stephon Diggs in the end zone, which was in a bunch of traffic, and Stephon just grabbed it and just held it so tight. And then the Kayshon Boutte play. Those could both easily have been drops. Those were almost like wide receivers. They were placed nicely, but they were almost like wide receiver touchdowns rather than some classic ones where like, Hunter Henry like wide open. I'm looking for a lot of those from A.J. Brown.
Absolutely.
That he can actually be a little bit worse, and A.J. Brown can go and get
Right,
stuff.
and so this is, I drew a chart.
Okay.
I don't know if America can see that.
Yeah.
Here's the point. I'm going to show it to you guys, and I'll talk it through. This is where I think he is a victim of a perfect storm of last season, where he started the year on a deep ball heater. We haven't, in none of this discussion, we talked about that playoffs competition notwithstanding. At the midway point of the season, he went from the best deep ball thrower in the league to below average at that. And that's
We thought that was Boutte's injury, but
I don't. You might have thought that. I didn't think that was Boutte's injury. I don't hold him in probably as high a regard as you do, but that's fine. I think the first year with Josh McDaniels, the schedule, all of those things, to where I think as far as Drake Maye production was up here, and I think it is overwhelmingly likely he does not have a year where the team or he individually is as successful as far as his numbers, MVP finish or team finish, anytime in the not next year, the year after that, that he could be getting better as a player, but it will only be one time the rest of his entire career that we can show a graphic like that, where he leads the league in everything, where the team has the best record, where they make the Super Bowl. So do I think, because I do believe in Drake Maye. Do I believe he is going to be a perennial franchise quarterback? Yes. Do I think he should perennially be in the MVP mix? Yes. Do I think he's going to have a year let's use Lamar as a great example. Lamar's first year as a full-time starter, he might have been getting better as a quarterback each and every year. It took him 5 years or 4 years to have another year where the team was as good and he was as good. The year he was unanimous MVP. Right. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So I just don't know how we're defining.
He's not going to be first in all those. I can't imagine he'll be first in all those.
So maybe a better question was, at the end of the year, will you consider Drake Maye a top 5 quarterback?
And I think maybe.
Right now, I feel like he's on the cusp, and if he can solidify himself, of course, when you name 5 quarterbacks, you have to name.
Right? Can he displace one of the big 4 we talked about plus Stafford? Whether Stafford retires or falls off, that would make it easier. But let's say he doesn't. Could he jump Joe Burrow? If Patrick's, in a different category in my opinion. But
if he gets,
he has an all-time pass.
But so like that to me is.
If all those guys have MVPs, who's the one guy without an MVP that can take that 5? Knicks have had the best defensive rating in the playoffs and are now tasked with slowing down Wemby. Mike Brown looking to the heavens to help, bro. Take a listen.
You just hope a guy like that, you can find ways to make him work. You pray. I had some buddies that are monks. I can't go to them because he's got that part of the religion all wrapped up. He's Vicky. I tell you what, he's a special human being, and to watch him from afar, to see how he gets himself ready, is that might be second to none.
Can the Knicks slow down Wemby?
Well, look, first of all, the strategy should be yes, you want to get physical with him, but really run. Like, play fast. Obviously, it helps you if you can run and get your offense before he even gets down there or while he's on his way down there. And you can wear him down a little bit. I think that's better than just banging him and things like that. But my answer is the only person that can slow down Wemby is Wemby and the Spurs. Like, if he's going to settle for just three-pointers and mid-range jump shots, that helps you. OG Anunoby is a phenomenal defender, but so is Alex Caruso and Jalen Williams and whatever other small players OKC threw at Wemby.
OG's bigger than Caruso.
He's 6'7". I mean, they're both, they're running around the same size. Wemby's got a literal foot on him. I get a stronger, shorter guy being able to push you out, but there are ways you can get Wemby closer to the basket without him just having to post. And if they do that and he commits to doing that, even on a pick and roll, run into the roll into the basket, throw it up. Like, if he makes a commitment, if they put a small guy on me, I am dominating them inside. And then you move outside from that, they can't stop him. It's all on him.
So how much of that, I remember I was watching when I first, this is 10 years ago. When I first got hired by Fox, I was watching a LeBron 2016 playoff game with one of our bosses somewhere. And LeBron drove to the basket and scored. And he said, and a boss said to me, he's like, see, that's what's frustrating about LeBron. He could do that. Why doesn't he do that every time? And my answer was, because it's exhausting. Because like settling for jumpers it's less taxing. And that to me, I know you call it, settling, and I just called it settling. So it's not just you that call it that. But Game 5, Wemby was out of gas, right? We saw it. Mm-hmm. And Game 6, when they blew out the Thunder, Wemby started the game off and through a lot of the game was shooting threes. And the difference was he was hitting them. It wasn't that he was all of a sudden relentlessly attacking. I do wonder how much of him settling for jumpers is because in part of his brain he fancies himself like, in kind of the Kevin Durant archetype at times on offense. He is a good shooter, and some of it because, man, it is not as exhausting. And I am.
But if you're tired, your legs can hurt your jump shot.
Absolutely, but it's not as tiring as fighting for position and all those things they ask you on the inside. That's how I view a lot of this. Like Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals when he had 41 and only hit 1 3. He only took 2 threes. He was dominating on the inside. So that's the piece that I do honestly wonder of how much of when you're saying he can only slow down himself or the Spurs slow him down is him being like the level of work I put in on the defensive end plus my first ever playoff run plus my up in minutes makes it to where I don't have the juice to battle with, even if I'm taller than them, stronger guys repeatedly on one end and battle with them on the other end. So that is why I think Mitchell Robinson's so important in this series. To just not only lean on Wemby, but to fight with him for rebounds, to make every part of his job more taxing. Because you think it's going to be a 7-game series. I think it's going to be Knicks in 6. KW said Knicks in 6. If we all think it's going to be a long series, that just see how much that gets to him by the end of the series. That's the way he slows down, other than the games he just can't hit a shot.
Get some Gatorade. I just can't hear about him.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.